Have you noticed that the more you complain to your spouse about his or her behavior, the more they engage in that behavior? And have you noticed that the more you express appreciation to your spouse for his or her behavior, the more they continue that behavior? Where would we be as a human species without autism? These are just a few of the people who were autistic. Leonardo da Vinci, Vincent van Gogh, Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, remember him? How about Benjamin Franklin, Henry Ford, Beethoven, Mozart? You remember them? Bob Dylan, James Taylor, John Denver, Charles Darwin, Carl Jung, even Charles Schultz. Where would we be as a species without autism? By the way, that was the short list. So, message to neurodiverse couples out there. If your spouse is complaining about something that you said or did, and then you complain about the fact that they're complaining, you're no better than they are. If your spouse is yelling or giving you the silent treatment, and then you get upset and yell back or give them the silent treatment, you're no better than they are. If your spouse is having a temper tantrum, and then you get upset and have a tantrum because they're having a tantrum, you're no better than they are. So why don't you be the one that can regulate his or her emotions? Why don't you be the more mature one? Quick message to the neurotypical wives out there. If you had an emotionally unavailable father or an emotionally abusive father, it's very possible that your ASD level 1 husband is paying for the sins of that father, and the two of you don't even know that that's going on. Okay, so a little message to the neurodiverse couples out there. When the two of you have a knockdown, drag-out, brutal fight or argument, don't do a post-argument analysis in your head. Don't try to analyze, okay, what happened, why. Whenever you try to analyze the motivation and behavior of somebody else in the heat of the moment, and you try to make sense of it, I can promise your analysis will mostly be off. In fact, I'll go so far as to say your analysis won't be in the ballpark. It won't even be in the parking lot of the ballpark. Don't analyze. It's just going to make you feel even worse. Don't make a judgment call on your spouse unless you have asked this person about their past. For example, the ASD guy, the husband here, don't trash your NT wife. You don't know about her history. Was she abused as a child? Did she have an emotionally absent father? What kind of trauma did she go through? And so you're going to blame her for being a bad person? You don't know what kind of junk she brought into this marriage. To the NT wife, married to the ASD guy, you don't know what he went through. As a child, he's probably ostracized, bullied, teased by peers, labeled a problem child by parents, a problem student by teachers. You don't know what kind of junk he had to deal with before he found you. So before you get so quick to pull the trigger on chastising your partner, maybe investigate to see what the kind of shit they had to go through just to cope with life. So if you're resentful just because your spouse is resentful, you're in the same rabbit hole that he or she is in. And if you're angry because your spouse is angry, you're in the same rabbit hole that he or she is in. And if you're offended because your spouse is offended, same rabbit hole. Maybe don't follow that person down that rabbit hole. As bizarre and unbelievable as this sounds, you can reduce the severity of some of your autistic traits if you'll do the carnivore diet. And I have a Facebook group that I just started. The link will be below this video. Feel free to join and I'll show you how to do it. That destructive chatter in your head, all that negative thinking is going to make you feel like shit. And then you're going to say or do something that you're going to later regret. Change your thinking, dummy. Quick message to neurodiverse couples. Your ego will tell you that it's you against him or her. You're separate. That's not the case. You're connected. Tell your ego to take a back seat. Say it. Okay, so a quick message to the neurotypical husbands married to an autistic wife. Sometimes your autistic wife will present real childlike and perhaps even childish. And you go, oh, isn't that cute? And you kind of nurture her almost like you're a father. Other times she will present, in other words, you will kind of download her behavior as a equal partner. And you'll have the thought, oh, I love this lady. She's so pretty. She's so smart. She's so fun to be with. At other times, she will present as the Wicked Witch of the West. Someone who has some serious issues. And you will think, what the hell did I get myself into? Did you know that you could reduce and even eliminate a lot of your anxiety and depression by doing the carnivore diet? I know, it sounds unbelievable. I get it. But I started a new Facebook group. The link will be below this video. Join, and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, quick question to the NTYs out there. When is the last time you did something with your autistic husband that he enjoyed? I said, when was the last time you engaged in an activity with your ASD spouse that he enjoys? Oh, that long ago, huh? Some NTs go, well, yeah, I used to join in when he would do such and such, but it was so boring. And some NT wives go, no, well, there's nothing that he does that he has an interest in that I could actually participate in. Really? You may want to rethink that thing, because I'm guessing that he has something that he enjoys that you could join in on. 90% plus of all disease is caused by, not just correlated with, but caused by stress. And the third leading cause of death is what the professionals, doctors, surgeons, and so on, try to do to fix your disease. Hello? You paying attention? Listen, I said, all disease, well, 90% plus, is caused by stress. And the third leading cause of death in human beings is a result of what the professionals do to try to fix your disease. Something's fucked up. So what is life like for somebody with autism? They're very anxious and uneasy, yet very talented and intellectual, but they also have sensory sensitivities and mind blindness. If you were at the hospital with your spouse who happens to be very sick, and the doctors come in and say, we hate to tell you, but he or she only has about an hour to live, what would you say to your spouse in that moment? Okay, whatever that is, you need to say that to your spouse later this afternoon. What's the most important thing to do in your neurodiverse marriage? Do no harm. Should you extend grace, compassion, love? Of course. But mostly you want to extend mercy, which is, I'm not going to say or do anything that's going to be hurtful, even though my ego thinks you probably deserve to be hurt. So for those of you who are really, really struggling in your neurodiverse marriage, I want you to never, ever forget these 5 points. Your most difficult people are your greatest teachers. Your most difficult situations strengthen you. The less you try to control others, the more control you get. Rather than focusing on what you don't want and what's going wrong, focus on what you do want and what's going right. And rather than focusing on how you're being mistreated, focus on how you can take care of yourself. What's more important to you, being right or keeping the peace? The answer is being right. And so every time you choose being right over keeping the peace, you have officially laid your own trap. What's more important to you, listening to understand the other person or speaking to be understood? The answer is speaking to be understood. That's more important to you than listening to understand, and when you do that, you have officially laid your own trap again. What's this trap you speak of, Mark? You set up a scenario that results in you feeling frustrated, angry, resentful, and victimized. So if you're always in the process of trying to change your partner, they have to say different things and do different things in order for you to be okay inside, you're going to be hit with the 4 R's. Rebellion, resentment, retreat, which is avoiding contact with you and conversations with you, and lastly, revenge. How does your ASD husband show his love for you? By doing things for you. And the typical NT wife says, well, yeah, I like some of the things that he does for me, but that's not enough. And the ASD husband will say the same thing. Doesn't matter what I do, it's never good enough. And so the NT wife goes through life feeling deprived. The ASD husband goes through life feeling like, I can never make her happy. So a quick message to those individuals on the autism spectrum who feel like they have to mask. Why would you want to pretend to be somebody else so that other people will like somebody that's not even you? Quick message to neurodiverse couples. If you say, well, my spouse has to change because there's something wrong with him or her. No. What's wrong with you such that you're not okay inside unless outside circumstances change? Maybe ask yourself that question. So what's the difference between someone with autism and someone with narcissism? Someone with autism looks insensitive and selfish because their social and emotional brain is underdeveloped. Someone with narcissism looks insensitive and selfish because they're insensitive and selfish. You get on your spiritual path and everything else will get taken care of by default. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about recognizing you're a spirit in a temporary human existence. All else will get taken care of. Physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, financially, and vocationally. You simply have to find some good in your spouse. I don't care how much this person has been misbehaving according to you, but he's got to be, or she has got to be doing something right. So you've got to find some good in your spouse somewhere, otherwise you're going to be very miserable. Tip for neurodiverse couples: you have wasted 80% of your time and energy trying to control the things you can't control. Now, there was 20% that you did spend time and energy on that you did control. But if you will stop wasting that 80% and apply a full 100% to the things that you can control, you'll be able to control them much more quickly and much more efficiently.